For thousands of years, falling seemed obvious. Drop a stone, it falls. Drop an apple, it falls. Jump, you come back down. No mystery, no debate. Then we measured carefully. A bowling ball, a feather. Remove the air, and they fall together. If gravity were a force, this would be impossible. And yet, it happens every time. Heavy, light, dense, delicate, doesn't matter. Everything falls at the same rate. This is not intuitive. This is not obvious. And it is not explained by saying gravity pulls things down. Because if gravity were a pull on objects, heavier things would fall faster. They don't. That is not a detail. That is a clue. Newton said gravity is a force. Einstein said gravity is geometry. Both are brilliant. Both are predictive. But neither answers the real question. Why does mass not matter? Why does the universe insist that everything accelerates exactly the same way? Why does gravity refuse to behave like every other force we know? That question was never answered, because it was never asked the right way. Here is the mistake we've been making. We've been watching objects fall and asking what is acting on them. But falling is not something objects decide to do. Falling happens before objects matter. To understand why everything falls together, we have to stop focusing on objects and start looking at the space environment they are embedded in. Space is not empty. There is no such thing as empty space. Space is an energetic environment, capable of holding, transferring, and redistributing energy. More unsettling still, energy is not something placed into space. Energy is a state of space itself. What we call matter, motion, and falling are not happening in space. They are happening to space. Some of that energy is active. Some of it is dormant. Crucially, the space environment does not support the same energy behavior everywhere. Near Earth, energy behaves differently than far away. That difference is not about objects. It is about what kinds of energy states space can sustain at different distances. Earth creates a spatial imbalance. Far from Earth, the space environment can sustain looser, slower energy activity. Closer to Earth, it can sustain only tighter, faster energy activity. That difference forms a continuous gradient, not layers, not steps, just a smooth change. Once that gradient exists, something unavoidable happens. Differences in energy states cannot remain separated. They must merge, not by force, not by attraction, but by redistribution. Energy shifts from regions where it is less constrained toward regions where it can be sustained. That direction, toward Earth, is what we call down. Falling is not an object being pulled. Falling is the space environment resolving an energy imbalance. The environment permits only one downward energy transfer tempo at a given location, and everything embedded in that environment must follow it. Objects don't fall because of their mass. Objects fall because they cannot opt out of the environment's redistribution process. Now the mystery dissolves. If falling were caused by a force acting on objects, mass would matter. But falling is not object-driven. It is environment-driven. At any given height above Earth, the space environment redistributes energy at one allowed rate. That rate is set by the environment, not by the object. So a bowling ball and a feather fall together for the same reason leaves drift together in a flowing river. Not because the leaves agree, but because the flow sets the motion. Mass doesn't matter because mass is not what's doing the falling. Drop a bowling ball and a feather in a vacuum. They land together. Not because of equations, not because of geometry, not because of coincidence, but because both are embedded in the same energy redistribution process. They are carried by the same downward resolution of the space environment. For centuries, we watched things fall and told ourselves we understood gravity. We didn't. We had descriptions. We had equations. We had predictions. But we never had the mechanism. Now we do. Gravity is not a force. Gravity is not curvature. Gravity is the tendency of the space environment to eliminate differences in how energy can exist. And Earth continuously recreates those differences. Objects fall because they are part of that process. This doesn't explain everything we call gravity, but it explains the one feature gravity never violates: why all objects fall together. In the next episode, we confront an even stranger fact: why everything, from atoms to galaxies, spins. And once again, the answer is not what we were taught.